So hello guys and welcome to another video. So 2 months ago I received this PC-98 Valuestar V200. So this comes with a Pentium MMX along with 64 megabytes of RAM. This also has a CD-ROM drive which my XC10 did not have, along with a floppy drive which my XC10 did have, but it only had a single one. And there is provision to add a second one, but you will need to replace this faceplate right here, and I don't have a replacement faceplate. So yeah, I should mention that it also does support PC speaker sound. You will need to plug in headphones to this port, and you can adjust the volume right here. There are only a few games that really support PC speaker sound. It's either really early games before FM was available, or it's later games like Puyo Puyo 2, which you can get some kind of sound through that at least. Even though it doesn't sound too good, but at least you get something. Now on the back, you can see my compact flash adapter that I did install, like the external version of it. And my PC did also come with a modem, as well as a sound card, but this sound card, first of all, I believe it's not Sound Blaster compatible, but even if it was, it would not work for PC-98 games anyway, because it's OPNA versus OPL, stuff like that. Anyway, so I'm going to open this up just to show you what's actually inside. And of course, I should mention that this is a 100 volts. But since this is a later model, this is actually a real standard AT. So I could, in theory, replace the power supply with a Pico PSU. I haven't done that yet. And I'll show you, hopefully, like power consumption numbers, but it should be like 30 watts if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, there are also screws that you need to remove on the sides, which I will do as well. Okay, I took out the cover, and yeah, this is how a standard PC-98 looks like. So here there was a hard drive, which actually mine was missing, but that's fine, to be honest, because I was intending it to replace it with a compact flash adapter. I think it's standard practice in like old companies where they get rid of old computers to just shred the hard drive for obvious reasons. And you can see the floppy drive right here, and you can see some empty space down below, so you could potentially install another one along with the CD drive right here. I do see analog audio because this is like the 4-pin header, although it seems that only 2 of them are, well, 3 of them are actually being used. I believe it's like voltage, ground, and some other pin. And let me show you. Okay, so there is a Windows accelerator card which was installed by default, I should mention. The only issue was this, that I encountered the cable that came with the power supply. It was way too short. So what I did was I took one of the existing Molex cable, then I used like an extension Molex to floppy drive connector, which this thing does require. Then there was the IDE cable, which was also too short. Fortunately, I did have one from my Xbox that was a bit longer. It was 40 pin, but that's fine because this motherboard, I don't think it would support UDMA anyway. So I ended up using that instead. It did work fine, I should mention. And yeah, now you don't have to go through all of that bullshit. Though in this case, I did have to, because unlike my XC10, I could not just use like a cheap compact flash adapter and just plug in to like the motherboard headers. I did have to get an IDE cable that could do, because I also needed to support the CD drive plus you know the compact flash adapter, as you can see here. So yeah, this does work fine. You can also see the processor right here, and it does have a very small cooler. I did not replace like the thermal paste on that. I believe it's probably going to be fine though. But yeah, I can just take my compact flash adapter and then just insert it like so. I believe this is the proper way. I forgot if it, I think it was like that. No, this was the proper way. Yes, this was the proper way. Good. Now, why did I do that? Well, if I want to transfer some files, I can just simply pull it out and then replace some files on that. And with the virus stuff, well, it's called virus, but basically you flash it onto this compact flash. Then you have access to the FAT32 or FAT16 file system. Then you can easily replace your files and stuff like that. So it's really easy. And there's not much to say. I mean, the power supply though, it's something I would like to upgrade, so to speak, because first of all, this is not a really powerful power supply. It's 100 volts. I live in France, so I need like a power converter or stuff like that, which is really annoying, especially since in this case, it's really not needed because, as I said earlier, it is standard AT, and you can use any ATX to AT adapter and then use a Pico PSU, and I could potentially run this off USB-C and have power or USB power delivery on this system, which will be really cool to have, because that's something I do on a lot of my retro consoles, to upgrade it to a USB or USB-C power delivery. The issue with USB-C is, well, you're kind of like an upper limit if you're especially using like 12 volts, which the Pico PSUs do require. Then you cannot go beyond 38 watts, and as you can see on this label right here, it does say that it can usually consume like 47 watts. So that's a bit, it's a bit too risky on this, to be honest. Though, I mean, even if I can simply use like any barrel to USB-C cable also, that's another idea. But even if I switch this to USB-C, I'm not sure how I would mount this to, these without some kind of 3D printer that I could just create the support for it. Or, I could just make a hole and then mount it with like a bunch of screws, but that would look really ugly. And yeah, there's also this port right here. So basically you would mount the monitor on top of the PC, then you will plug it to that, and then this will be plugged to your power outlet. So that way you minimize the cable clutter, and that's not something that you see nowadays. Anyways, hope that eventually I would be able to upgrade to a proper FM sound card. And yeah, that is not much to say really. I mean, if you have a PC-98, I will highly suggest that you do the compact flash adapter, or at least the SD card adapter, though I've been told by some people that they did not have much luck with the SD to IDE adapter. With compact flash, I had no issues. Oddly enough, though, I had a PC-98 laptop that would refuse to work with this particular compact flash card, and I used it on like my XC10 and this one, and I had no issues for strange reasons. Maybe it had like a 4 GB limit. This one should be able to either get to 8 GB or even 32 GB. There are some models like the PC-98 AP that you can upgrade the BIOS to use much larger drives plus have an English BIOS. That's what I would recommend, as long as you are capable of replacing the capacitors on the board. Because this PC right here, the caps, they are actually pretty good. Usually you should not have to replace them. But if you get something like an AP, for example, or even the AP2 or whatever, you won't have to replace the capacitors because these are infamous for failing. Anyway, that's really all there is to it for like the hardware overview. So I hope to show you a bit of footage on the actual hardware through my OSSC. So welcome back, guys. This is the PC-98 booting up right now, and as you can see, it does have 64 megs of RAM. Now I am going to make it a bit brighter. Oh, actually it is. Okay, well, it's all good then. So, okay. Now I just want to show you Quake real quick. Though it's running a bit it runs okay, but I won't actually play the game because this keyboard is extremely buggy. I know it's the keyboard because when I saw my XC10, the guy had absolutely no issues with the keyboard that he uses. This is an older type of keyboard, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem to work with newer games. I don't know why, though. I mean, I look at the code of my game that still has the same issue. It could actually be a hardware issue with this keyboard, but I actually got no useful help on how to repair this. So what I did was I just ended up getting another keyboard, but it's gonna take like 4 months to actually arrive at my doorstep. So yeah, I'm not counting on that. So I just show you basically this footage. It's extremely dark right now, and that's because my capture card really doesn't like this. Yeah, I try to make it a bit. I think I said it. Oh, there we go. It's better. Well, sort of better because. Oh my god. Yeah, I will need to adjust it in the game settings and brighten up the brightness, but that's no solution because watch when I press exit. Yeah, so basically it remembers the last key that I pressed and it does it constantly. So this is definitely annoying, and right now I have no issues other than, well, no fix to that issue other than getting a new keyboard. Maybe I could fix this one, but I looked at like the keyboard itself. There's not much to it. There's just a few resistors and then the membrane, and that's really all there is to it. There's a timer chip also. I think that's what's failing, but I have no replacement for that timer chip. So that's really unfortunate. So I'll need to, and there's no reset button on this system. My XC10 did actually have a reset button, but this one doesn't. Now, supposedly you could do it on this keyboard, but since the keyboard is buggy, I can't actually use that. So, yeah. Fortunately, the keyboards are pretty cheap right now. It used to be a lot more expensive, but now they are quite cheaper. And I don't know why it does. It seems to work mostly okay. I also have Doom, but same issue as my Quake port. It just doesn't work at all. Well, the demo runs, but then there's this bullshit issue. So I don't know how to use this UI because I know I had Puyo Puyo on another partition, but I forgot where it was. So maybe I'll just show you Toho instead. Which game? Default with mouse hack. So obviously no sound. And this one has the keyboard works fine. It seems to. I don't know how. I even looked at the source code of this game to lift up the keyboard code, and yeah. Now the brightness is a bit too high, so let me change that a bit. Seems okay, but not perfect. Yeah, I don't have a sound card for this game, and it doesn't support PC speaker, so that's really all I can do for it. Which is a shame because the Toho games, they do have memorable music. And Nixon soundtrack, for that matter. In fact, I don't really care for the game that much. It's just a shmup. I'll just quit. Does look decently nice. Though for a later game, it doesn't really take advantage of the 256 color mode. So that was Toho. I also have shmups like Rule Breaker. This is another excellent game for the PC-98. And this game does have a black window, like some of the other PC-98 games. The escape button on this game it doesn't actually exit, it just pauses the game. So I have no clue other than dying how to actually exit the game. So I'll just die. There we go. Oh, I'm not dead. Not dead yet. There we go. Now I'm dead. Yeah, there we go. Achievement high score. Not that I care for that. Yeah. Exit. There we go. So that was Rule Breaker for you. There are other games, but I don't like how it's sorted. I actually got these games from other people. And some of these games do require a mouse, which I don't have, obviously. Not that it matters though, because this keyboard doesn't work properly anyway. Let's not just show you the demo on this, even though I can only show you like the demo. Game start. I think it's not going to work though. I remember there were issues. And this is on the Pentium MMX, by the way. Now the Quake port that I did could have run better, but the issue is I actually hard-coded the timer. So essentially it would always run at the same FPS, which in this case was 10 FPS. So that is why it can't run faster than 10 FPS, no matter how powerful your hardware is. Yeah, that's what I remember. It did not actually work. Well, that was just to show you basically the PC-98. And it does work for Quake. Though the port of it was quite basic, obviously. I only added like a few buttons and basically made it work somewhat. And use the QSlow executable. The QFast version does not work on hardware as I expected. The QFast version actually uses like 386 assembly code, but for whatever reason it does not work on the PC-98. I'm not sure why. I could diagnose this further, but that would take me much more time. Yeah, and it was just a proof of concept for me anyway, so I did not really care that much. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching and bye.